What's going on, everyone? If you're a Laker fan hoping for Kyrie Irving to go to the Lakers, today was a very important day and one that should be very exciting for you. Now, obviously, the Lakers are trying to trade Kyrie Irving, but there hasn't been any headway either way, and there's no confirmation whether, Kyrie is off the table or anything along those lines. Now, a lot of people talked about how Shams talked about on the Pat McAfee show that Kyrie wants to stay in Brooklyn, with or without Kevin Durant, all that stuff. We heard that several weeks ago. What that stemmed from is a New York Post that had an anonymous source that the post made no sense. Go read the Post. A lot of people are taking that as gospel, oh my God, I can't believe this. Shams also, if you actually watch the interview, he followed it up with, it doesn't mean that a trade won't happen, that a trade could still end up happening. Nobody knows what is going to happen. It was on the Pat McAfee show. Nothing really major has happened in several days now. So they're just trying to pump out old news now. And what was the last thing that I remember? Oh yeah, the report that Kyrie Irving wants to stay in Brooklyn one way or another. That's what that was. Go read the report. If you read the report, it clearly states that Kyrie, it doesn't line up with anything. It doesn't talk about Kyrie mentioning anything. It's a report from an anonymous source that says that the media made up the fake trade, but they completely leave out all of the stuff that happened before the Kevin Durant requesting an actual trade, because that's what the report says, that Kevin Durant requested a trade, so the media ended up running away with, that means Kyrie Irving's being traded too, when for a month before Kevin Durant ended up deciding to leave, there were reports that Kyrie Irving's going to the Lakers, that they don't want to give him an extension. And then the report also says, he wanted to, if he didn't want to be a Net, he wouldn't have signed that, or he wouldn't have agreed to the opt-in. No, you idiot. He agreed to opt in because he didn't want to leave $30 million on the table. It's not because he wanted to stay with the Nets. It's because he didn't want to lose $30 million. So all Shams did was just rehash that same report from 2 weeks ago. And we've even had reports since then that completely contradict that other thing. So it's just been a big mess. But the big news that matters in this Kyrie Irving deal, and the reason that Laker fans should be excited, is because of Kevin Durant's potential going to the Boston Celtics. Now, this isn't confirmed. This doesn't mean that Kevin Durant is undoubtedly going to the Boston Celtics, but we do know that the Boston Celtics decided to put out a trade package of Jaylen Brown, Derek White, and a first-round pick, which the Nets declined, but it's very likely that talks are going to continue. This was actually put out by the Nets, so we know that this was an actual thing. This really was an offer that was on the deal. They decided to turn it down, but you always turn down the first offer, and we'll see what develops in this trade, right? We'll see how this all comes to be. Now, if you're a Laker fan and you want Kyrie, or if you're just somebody that wants Kyrie to go to the Lakers, period, you need to hope that this goes through, because if Boston gets Kevin Durant, then that means the Lakers are going to get Kyrie Irving, because the Nets are not going to keep Kyrie Irving without Kevin Durant. They already want to get rid of him. They've been, the owner wants to trade him regardless. And if they end up moving off of KD, that means that they're going to end up moving off of Kyrie as well. I know the reports, he wants to play regardless. It doesn't matter what Kyrie wants. It matters what the Nets want. The Nets wanted Kyrie around, they would have gave him an extension. They don't want Kyrie around even with KD. You think they're going to want Kyrie around without KD? Absolutely not. So they'll hopefully make the trade with Boston, which, it'll probably be a couple back and forth. It's probably still going to be another week or two or several before we actually see a deal with Boston, because, it'll go out, Nets will say, we want 3 picks, Marcus Smart, Derek White, and Jaylen Brown, and then the Celtics will say, we'll give you Marcus Smart and Jaylen Brown and 2 picks, and then, you'll just keep having that back and forth, and then they'll find that happy medium. But very likely, the Boston Celtics are going to trade Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, and several first-round picks for Kevin Durant, which will be huge for the Boston Celtics. I mean, you'll get Kevin Durant and Jason Tatum. That is a really good pairing, really good duo going forward. And then that opens the door for Kyrie Irving to be traded, because they're not going to keep Kyrie Irving around with the teams that they got. And the other positive that is on our side, as far as the Kevin Durant trade very likely getting done by Boston, is because now Jaylen Brown is not a happy person. And guess who the Boston Celtics could end up losing if they don't trade Jaylen Brown? That is correct. Jaylen Brown could either demand a trade or he could end up just not, being around any longer. His contract's not too far removed, so he could be a guy that just says, hey, you guys want to get rid of me? Get rid of me. I want you to trade me right now, and that's it. So that is huge for, the Kyrie Irving trade, because if it was one of those things where Jaylen Brown was like, hey, I understand it. It's Kevin Durant. I would trade me for Kevin Durant, something like that. That would be kind of a bad sign. But the fact that Jaylen Brown is looking at it as he's being, as the Celtics are throwing him under the bus, it's one of those things. I just don't see him being happy. He's a free agent in 2024. He's not going to, he might honor his contract, or he might opt out. He might just say, I need you to trade me. I need you to get rid of me. I don't know how they're going to be able to keep Jaylen Brown and not move off of it. You know what I mean? I don't see how they're going to be able to do that, because Jaylen Brown is a player that wants to be gone now, who isn't happy, that made that tweet, all that stuff. He knows, I was the only guy that showed up. I was the dude that was there in the finals putting up 20-point fourth quarters while Jason Tatum completely disappeared, and now you want to trade me? I completely get how Jaylen Brown feels, and I just think at this point the bridge is burnt. At this point, you gotta trade him now, because either he's gonna demand a trade or he's just gonna leave you. So which is it? Which one do you want? But this means that with the Kyrie trade, of course, I still don't see the Brooklyn Nets taking Russell Westbrook. Now, they might be more open to it if they don't have Kevin Durant or Kyrie Irving. Maybe they kind of are like, we can write it out for a year, especially if there's questions about Ben Simmons. Because I know a lot of people say Russell Westbrook and Ben Simmons is never going to work. Do we even know if Ben Simmons is actually going to play? And again, the Nets can't tank, so they have to remain good. So they might look at it as hey, can Jaylen Brown, Russell Westbrook, and Marcus Smart with TJ Warren and stuff, could that make us a playoff team? Possibly. I'm not saying that this means Westbrook's going to the Nets, but I think the possibility of that happening is a lot greater. I still think Russell Westbrook goes to a third team. That's why I have him in a Spurs jersey. Not saying that he will be in a Spurs jersey, but just in general, a Spurs, Knicks, Pacers, whatever it turns out being. I do think Westbrook still ends up on a third team. Lakers get Kyrie Irving. But again, it's also very possible that we see something where they say, you know what, we will take Russ, and then maybe they hold on to him, or they kind of leverage it. If Ben Simmons is still a question of if he's going to play, or let's say he's coming back, and we know, okay, next week Ben Simmons is coming back, maybe they try to flip Russ or something. It opens the door for various possibilities if you're the Brooklyn Nets and you trade Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. But I think Kyrie Irving being traded is a lot more likely if Kevin Durant gets done. If you want Kyrie on the Lakers, as much as it might pain some people, you are rooting that the Boston Celtics end up landing Kevin Durant. Because if they land Kevin Durant, they are going to trade Kyrie Irving. And they will be a lot more aggressive, and it's going to happen a lot sooner than we would expect. I wouldn't be surprised if Kevin Durant gets traded and the next day Kyrie's traded, maybe even that day. Because I do believe the Nets know what the deal is for Kyrie. I'm not saying that it's a done deal or anything like that, but there's only so many possibilities and so many outcomes that can happen in a Kyrie trade. So I think the Nets know this is what we're going to have to take in a Kyrie trade. And I think that it'll get done sooner rather than later. Because there's no way they're going to keep Kyrie Irving if they trade Kevin Durant. So I think that this is a huge bonus, a huge benefit. And we need to pray that any day now, Kyrie Irving or Kevin Durant ends up getting traded to the Celtics so Kyrie Irving can get traded to the Lakers. But the last little point that I want to make, how incredible would it be if these two ended up facing each other in a finals? Now, I talked about this in my live stream. If you're not somebody that's a part of my live streams, you need to check out my live streams. I try to go daily, and I usually do a pretty good job with that. But talked about this in my live stream. The fact that Kyrie Irving ends up going to the Lakers and Kevin Durant ends up going to the Celtics, we could have an NBA Finals that is believable and realistic of Lakers-Celtics. But not only would it be a Lakers-Celtics final, you would have the two friends, Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, going face-to-face after just being on the same team the year prior and having a breakup. Not only that, but Kyrie Irving was a Celtic at one point, so he's facing his old team. Not only that, LeBron James is playing the Celtics, who notoriously spanked him and made him go to Miami. Not only that, but it would be the winner ends up being the leader in all-time finals wins with banner number 18. I mean, you cannot write a better story than this. This would be fantastic. Like, I want this to happen so badly, and I do believe the Lakers would win that series. Because Kevin Durant and Jason Tatum, like, who's their third option? If you're the Lakers, you have Anthony Davis, LeBron James, and Kyrie Irving. You're going to win that. Because all the role players, like the Lakers role players and the Celtics role players are pretty spot on. But you have Kyrie Irving, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis. Boston has nobody to guard Anthony Davis, nobody to really guard LeBron James. And Kyrie Irving, like, you get rid of Marcus Smart. Is Brogdon going to be able to stop him? I don't think so. But nonetheless, as always, I pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. What do you think? Do you love this? Do you hate it? However you feel about it, let me know down in the comment section below. Do you think that KD ends up getting traded to the Celtics? If so, are you excited? Do you think Kyrie ends up going to the Lakers? I really do think that KD is going to be the first domino. And I think we all need to be rooting for Kevin Durant to go to the Celtics, so that way the Lakers could end up with Kyrie Irving. But those are my thoughts and opinions. Again, love to hear yours. Let me know down in the comment section below. One last little shameless plug is I did start As It Stands Lakers. It is a channel just like this, dedicated to only the Lakers, because the Lakers are my favorite team. And on this channel, As It Stands, I talk about all teams, all sports, stuff like that. We have football season coming up, so I'm definitely looking forward to that as well. And I just wanted to make a dedicated channel to the Lakers to give the ins and outs. Now, all the big stuff, all the big news and stuff, I will still post here on this channel. But if you want all the ins and outs and just rumors and theories and just discussions just strictly on the Lakers, link down in the description or in the comment section. Go check out the channel, subscribe to the channel. I'd really appreciate it. That being said, hit that like button. Helps me out a lot. Lets me know you enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button, followed by the bell notification. Stay up to date with all things sports. Join this wonderful community and all of our discussions. I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you.